My name is Linda Chavez. I served in the White House on the senior staff under President Ronald Reagan. It is a great honor and pleasure to be with you today. This is the second year that I have been at this gathering in Paris. And I have to tell you that watching the news last week as the world media was searching for some sign of democracy in Iran, they were searching in the wrong place, because that sign is here in this hall. You are the future of the country of Iran, and no man who was handpicked to put on a ballot by the mullahs who control every aspect of life in Iran can truly be said to represent that country. We have in this room the future of the country of Iran, of freedom and democracy. And we have gathered today here dignitaries from all over the world. Now, why I have been chosen as the person who has the most difficult job in the room, I don't know. And it is going to be my duty today to remind those dignitaries who have come that every voice wants to be heard today, because there are so many here who want to show their support for the Iranian people and their support for President-elect Madam Rajab. I also want to mention that this is not just being seen in this room. There are tens of thousands of you already in this room, but there are millions others who are watching and who are listening. The first person that I have the privilege of introducing to this audience this afternoon is somebody who frankly needs no introduction, not only in this room, but any place in the world. He is the former mayor of New York City. He is America's mayor. He is the Honorable Rudy Giuliani.
Thank you. Thank you. Very impressive to see all these people, so many, 100,000 here to celebrate liberty and freedom and to fight for it. Madam Rajab, all of the lovers of freedom that are here today, I said 2 years ago that Camp Liberty was going to be a concentration camp and worse, a killing field. I am very, very sad to say that I've turned out to be correct. It's become exactly that, a concentration camp and a place where people are killed without any regard for dignity, human life, or decency. People abandoned by the United Nations, and even worse, abandoned by my country, the United States, that promised them protection. Shame on the United Nations. Shame on Martin Kobler, and shame on all of those who promised protection and are now refusing to give it. Shame on all of you! Where's the leader to say to the Ayatollahs? Where's the leader to say to Maliki? Where's the leader to say to Rouhani, no more killing! No more killing! In the name of decency, free the people of Camp Liberty and Camp Ashraf. Free them now. No more talk. No more diplomacy. No more lies. Free them as you promised to do. I believe that the most honorable thing to do would be to take all those people who are now at liberty and Ashraf, and because of the promises made by the United States of America, by my country, I believe it is our obligation to take all of them and bring them to the United States of America immediately. That would be the honorable thing to do. That would be the decent thing to do. But since we've abandoned decency and honesty, then I believe the only practical thing to do is to return them immediately to Camp Ashraf, where they can protect themselves. Since we can't seem to protect them, at least let them go to Camp Ashraf, where they can protect themselves from the rockets and from the killing that is going on in Iraq. Let me say to the people that are listening now or in the future in Camp Liberty and those remaining in Ashraf, you have my undying admiration. We admire your courage. We admire your love of freedom. We admire your love of country. We admire you greatly. And when the day comes, and it will come, that Iran is a free country again, that Iran is a decent country again, that Iran is allowed to live up to its great history, when that day comes, you, the people in Liberty and Ashraf, you will be the mothers and the fathers of freedom. You will be the heroes. I believe that now, unfortunately, a nuclear Iran is becoming almost a thing that will happen no matter what we do. The election of Hassan Rouhani brings it, in my view, closer rather than further away. And let me explain why. The propaganda machine describing him as a reformer is hideous. This man is no reformer. You know he is not a reformer. If he's a reformer, we're better having a radical than a reformer. All the candidates in this prior election were approved by Ayatollah Khomeini. All of them were approved. He wouldn't have been approved if he were truly a moderate, whatever that means. Rouhani served on the Supreme National Security Council since 1991. He has been one of its most important members. He was a personal representative of the present Ayatollah. Do you know how many people have been slaughtered? Do you know how many people have been killed? Do you know how many people have been tortured? And do you know how many people have been imprisoned while he has sat for 16 years on that council? Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. The blood of those people are on Rouhani's hands. He is no reformer. He is a killer. He is a murderer. Wake up. He sat on that council in 1993, in August of 1993, when the council approved killing what turned out to be over 80 Jewish people and injuring over 800 other people in Argentina, because Argentina refused to supply Iran with nuclear material. According to the Argentinian prosecutor, Mr. Rouhani was part of that decision, was a critical part of that decision. The blood of those 80 people and the 800 people that were slaughtered in Argentina is on Rouhani's hands. It's time that we speak realistically about what has to be done. If Mr. Rouhani is a reformer, then he can prove it to us. Here's how he can prove it to us. He can release the political prisoners that are in Iran immediately. He can give rights to women, and he can abandon the nuclear program. Since that's not going to happen, and you know it's not going to happen, where does our hope reside? Where does our hope for freedom and decency and democracy and freedom lie? With the Ayatollah? With the mullahs? With the murderer Rouhani? No! It lies with you, with Madame Rajvi, with the MEK, with people who believe in freedom, with people who believe in democracy, with people who believe in a non-nuclear Iran. I conclude by speaking directly to the people at Ashraf and Liberty. We love you. We love you because we admire you so much. We wonder if we could handle with the same dignity and the same strength and the same commitment what you've had to handle. But we know why you're doing it. You're doing it not only for your own freedom, but for the freedom of your children and for the freedom of your great nation, Iran. I tell you now, and I say to you, all decent people are with you. It doesn't matter what their political leanings are. It doesn't matter what their ethnic background, race, or religion. We're all with you. We are sitting with you in Ashraf right now. We only hope and we wish that we have the strength and courage that you have. But our admiration for you is endless. God bless you, and God will lead us to a free and a decent Iran because of you, the people of Ashraf, and because of you and Madame Rajvi. Thank you, and God bless you.
Next, it is my great honor and privilege to introduce the 81st Attorney General of the United States and a former federal judge, Judge Michael Mukasey.
This is Rajvi, and brothers and sisters who love freedom and yearn for a free Iran. When we met in past years and MEK members were in Ashraf, we always spoke of the danger from Iraq, from Iranian agents in Iraq. The MEK at those times was still on the U.S. list of foreign terrorist organizations, a designation that never had any basis in fact and was made purely as an accommodation to the mullahs in a misguided and, of course, unsuccessful attempt to entice them into negotiations by designating their principal opposition, the MEK, as terrorists. We were told solemnly by the U.S. government that moving away from Ashraf to liberty was something that was in MEK's interest. We were told by representatives of our State Department that being near the Baghdad airport would make it easier to get people out to other countries. And we were also assured that there was an emergency plan. It was secret, it couldn't be disclosed, but we were told that there was a plan if an emergency developed. Yet now, when MEK finally pushed in the courts of the United States against State Department opposition and was removed from the list of foreign terrorist organizations. And now that MEK has done what the U.S. government asked and moved its members to liberty, the danger looks greater than ever. Remember how this started. MEK members gave up their weapons in 1993 when the United States invaded Iraq. They were vetted, all of them, by the FBI and found to have no terrorist connections. They were given personal, individual guarantees by U.S. representatives, including the U.S. military, that they would be treated as protected persons under the Geneva Conventions. Even as their situation has gotten progressively worse, these assurances continued. We are now at a crisis point. A new president has been elected in Iran. And as you heard from Mayor Giuliani, and we are certain to hear from our State Department, that we must be accommodating to this person because he is a moderate. Rouhani, a moderate? As you heard, he could not have stood for election without the approval of Khamenei and the other mullahs. He comes out of the security services. What can be done in the face of that? Well, what can be done in the face of that is to take inspiration from the residents of the people who are living in a place ironically called liberty that is really concentration camp liberty, and tell them that they are not forgotten and that they will not be forgotten. Those of us who were enlisted by our State Department to help convince the residents of Ashraf must bear some special responsibility in this crisis. And I'll tell you, I was there when that happened. And I can vouch for the fact that, as Mrs. Rajavi told you, Kobler asked very specific questions about Masoud Rajavi, and it made our blood run cold. But I'm also here to tell the residents and our own State Department that I recognize my own responsibility in this matter, and I'm not going to shrink from it or shirk it. I promise you, and I promise them, that I will not stop speaking out until the residents of Camp Liberty are free to rejoin the struggle that we're all in, and that is the struggle for a free Iran. That I pledge to you and to them. Thank you very much.
It's now my great pleasure to introduce to you a great patriot, the former National Security Advisor to President Barack Obama, General James Jones.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and bonjour à tous. First, let me offer my congratulations to Mrs. Rajavi and to all of you for what you represent today by your attendance at this very, very important event. An event which symbolizes the struggle for democracy and freedom for the people of Iran, and also, by example, oppressed people everywhere. I'm proud to add my voice of support to you and to your cause. Ladies and gentlemen, we still live in a dangerous world, but it is a world in which, hopefully, tyrants and tyranny are on the decline, and freedom and liberty is on the rise. The Middle East is still the epicenter of most of that danger, and today's event is symbolic of the here and now of that danger. And as we all know, Iran is still the dominant source of instability and danger in the region. By the outreach of its power and influence to Syria, stabilize the entire region. And through the steadfast advancement of its plan to acquire nuclear weapons, Iran's goals and vision are unmistakable. Within the context of what is now a vigilant struggle, the leadership and the vision that all of you represent serve notice and care. But democracy is coming, and it is unstoppable. So, to be clear, Iran's so-called election of Assad will not change the Supreme Leader's vision or his direction for the regime. We should be clear on this. Global continued sanctions should be maintained, and nations who do not cooperate with an enhanced sanctions protocol should both be named and shamed. The ultimate outcome of the crisis in Syria is critical to Iran's future and to the hope of freedom-loving people everywhere. If Syria's advocates for democracy prevail, Iran loses. It's as simple as that. Pro-democracy movement must be supported and must be helped. Neither the United States nor Europe can sit this one out. The stakes are high and the impact is global. In 2004, the United States-led multinational force designated the people of Camp Ashraf as protected persons. In 2009, the new government of Iraq accepted this responsibility for their security, and this responsibility and the way they have chosen to enact their responsibility has been an abject, shameful failure. So in a geostrategic sense, the latest cowardly attack of June 15th on Camp Liberty signals the real and persistent fear that the regime has with regard to your noble resolve and your determination. On a more human and humanitarian level, it represents the continuing need for all nations to join in effective condemnation of these now multiple attacks on unarmed men, women, and children. So the world, with the regimes in Baghdad and Tehran, now recognize that the people of Ashraf and Liberty are not terrorists. Rather, they are the victims of brutal repression because of their ideas, their values, and those that you hold and we all hold as well. And that is for a free and democratic Iran to come sooner rather than later. Tehran knows that words and ideas are more powerful than any weapon, even a nuclear weapon. So we are with you in this cause. May God give you the strength and courage on your path to victory. Thank you very much.